Russia batters Ukraine with largest drone barrage of the war. According to the BBC, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia launched its largest ever aerial attack overnight, condemning it as a telling attack that rebuffs peace efforts. The strike, reportedly involving over 700 drones, came shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump reversed a temporary pause and confirmed the U.S. would send more weapons to Kyiv, expressing frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin's lack of intent to end the war. Israel prepares for possible ground operation in Lebanon. According to the Associated Press, the Israeli military is actively preparing for a potential ground operation in Lebanon as cross-border hostilities with Hezbollah escalate. Israeli Army Chief Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi stated that recent airstrikes were intended to prepare the ground for a possible entry. The conflict has intensified, with Hezbollah launching longer-range rockets towards central Israel and the death toll in Lebanon from 3 days of Israeli strikes rising to 615. Israeli strikes kill at least 38 in Gaza amid ceasefire talks. According to the Associated Press, Israeli airstrikes killed at least 38 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, hospital officials reported Sunday. The attacks occurred as an Israeli negotiating team was sent to Qatar for ceasefire talks ahead of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House. The U.S. has proposed an initial 60-day truce that would involve a partial hostage release in exchange for increased humanitarian aid to Gaza. Iran and European diplomats to meet in Geneva amid high tensions. According to the Associated Press, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is scheduled to meet with European diplomats in Geneva on Friday for the first face-to-face talks since the crisis with Israel escalated. The meeting comes as both British and Australian officials emphasize a 2-week window for diplomacy to de-escalate the conflict and prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Australia has closed its embassy in Tehran due to the deteriorating security situation. Russia becomes first country to formally recognize Taliban rule. According to the Associated Press, Russia on Thursday became the first country to formally recognize the Taliban's government in Afghanistan since the group seized power in 2021. The move came after Moscow removed the Taliban from its list of outlawed organizations in April. Afghanistan's foreign ministry hailed the decision as a historic step and an example for other nations, as Russian officials have recently stressed the need to engage with the Taliban to stabilize the country. Wildfire rages in Catalonia, burning over 20,000 acres. According to the Associated Press, a fierce wildfire fueled by Europe's ongoing heatwave has destroyed over 20,000 acres of forest in a Catalonian national park in the last 24 hours. Video footage showed large plumes of smoke and flames engulfing the landscape. Residents in the affected area have been assessing the damage from the blaze, which has been described as unprecedented for the region. U.S. imposes 25% tariffs on Japan and South Korea, sets August deadline. According to the Associated Press, President Donald Trump has imposed a 25% tariff on all goods imported from Japan and South Korea and announced new tariff rates for a dozen other nations, which will take effect on August 1. The White House notified the countries via letters posted on social media. The move follows the expiration of a 90-day negotiating period, escalating trade pressure on key U.S. allies in Asia. Trump threatens BRICS nations with additional 10% tariff after summit. According to the Times of India, President Donald Trump threatened to impose an additional 10% tariff on the 11-member BRICS bloc after it denounced his administration's trade policies as damaging and illegal during its summit in Brazil. The bloc, which includes China, India, Russia, and U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia, accounts for nearly 40% of global economic output. Trump's threat escalates trade tensions ahead of an August 1 deadline for new trade deals. China warns it will retaliate against supply chain deals excluding Beijing. According to Reuters, China has officially warned that it will retaliate against any country that enters into a supply chain agreement with the United States designed to exclude Beijing. The warning was published in a state media commentary, which labeled the U.S. tariff strategy as bullying. The statement comes as the U.S. pursues trade deals with nations like Vietnam to shift manufacturing and sourcing away from China. China expands visa-free entry to over 70 countries to boost tourism. According to Time, China is expanding its visa-free entry program to include more than 75 countries as part of a major campaign to revive its inbound tourism sector. The move is aimed at attracting more international visitors and stimulating the economy, contrasting with what the report describes as the U.S. closing itself off. This policy shift is a key component of China's strategy to boost its post-pandemic economic recovery. Pakistan to pilot central bank digital currency, governor says. According to Reuters, Pakistan's central bank is preparing to launch a pilot program for a digital currency, Governor Jamil Ahmad announced Wednesday at a summit in Singapore. The country is also finalizing legislation to regulate virtual assets as it works to modernize its financial system. The move follows similar initiatives by other central banks in Asia and the Gulf to explore and test digital currencies through controlled programs. U.S. stocks close mixed as investors weigh new tariff threats. According to the Associated Press, U.S. stock markets closed with mixed results on Tuesday as investors processed the Trump administration's latest tariff announcements. The S&P 500 slipped 0.1%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.4%, and the Nasdaq Composite was little changed. The sluggish trading followed a broader sell-off on Monday after President Trump set an August 1 deadline for new tariffs on 14 nations, including a 25% tax on imports from Japan and South Korea. Asian markets rally, defying tariff news as traders eye negotiations. According to the Times of India, Asian equity markets rose on Tuesday, with Japanese and South Korean stocks gaining as much as 0.3%, as investors focused on the potential for negotiation despite new U.S. tariff threats. Sentiment improved after President Trump suggested the August 1 deadline was not 100% firm, delaying implementation and hinting at possible extensions. The market reaction suggests traders are pricing in the likelihood of last-minute deals being struck. Copper prices surge on New York's COMEX after U.S. tariff threat. According to Bloomberg, copper futures in New York experienced a record spike after President Donald Trump announced the U.S. would implement a higher-than-expected 50% tariff on copper imports. The move sowed chaos in metals markets, causing the global benchmark price in London to drop while the price on the COMEX exchange surged, highlighting fears of a significant supply dislocation for the U.S. market. Tesla shares fall 7% as Musk-Trump feud unnerves investors. According to the Associated Press, shares of Tesla fell by 7% on Monday after a public feud between CEO Elon Musk and President Donald Trump intensified over the weekend. Musk, once a Trump ally, announced he was forming a new political party to protest a recent Republican spending bill. In response, Trump stated on social media that Musk had gone off the rails, creating uncertainty and concern among investors about the potential political and regulatory repercussions for Musk's companies. U.S. diplomats warned of AI-powered impersonation of top officials. According to the Associated Press, the U.S. State Department has issued a warning to its diplomats about attempts to impersonate Secretary of State Marco Rubio and other officials using AI-driven technology. A cable sent to all embassies revealed that an imposter posing as Rubio had contacted at least 3 foreign ministers, a U.S. senator, and a governor. The incident highlights the growing national security threat posed by sophisticated, AI-powered disinformation and impersonation campaigns. TikTok to launch new, separate U.S. app amid sale negotiations. According to the Times of India, TikTok is reportedly developing a completely new version of its app specifically for the United States as its parent company, ByteDance, continues to negotiate a potential sale of its U.S. operations. The move, which would require all 170 million American users to download a replacement app, is part of a plan to satisfy U.S. national security concerns by separating its data and infrastructure from China, with Oracle playing a key partnership role. U.S. Senate votes to remove ban on state-level AI regulation from bill. According to the Associated Press, the U.S. Senate has voted 99-1 to remove a provision from a major bill that would have blocked states from passing their own laws regulating artificial intelligence for several years. The move, a result of a bipartisan push, was a defeat for tech companies and White House figures who had argued for a single federal standard. It opens the door for a patchwork of state-level AI rules across the country. India's government and X dispute blocking of Reuters news accounts. According to the Times of India, a public dispute has erupted between the Indian government and social media platform X over the temporary blocking of the @Reuters and @Reuters World News accounts in India. X claimed the government ordered the block on July 3 under the IT Act. However, India's IT ministry denied issuing a new order, stating it had immediately requested X to unblock the handles and that the platform took over 21 hours to comply. Turkish court orders ban on Elon Musk's AI chatbot Grok. According to the Associated Press, a Turkish court has ordered a ban on Elon Musk's AI chatbot, Grok, citing offensive content. The move is part of a broader crackdown on the platform by Turkish authorities. Separately, Poland has announced its intention to report the chatbot to the European Union for its offensive comments, adding to the regulatory scrutiny facing Musk's AI company, XAI, in Europe.